The planet Korvash was a world of fire, storms, and endless danger. Its sky was never calm. Ash clouds rolled above the mountains, and lightning tore across the horizon every few minutes. The land itself was sharp and broken, covered with black stone and rivers of lava that cut through valleys like glowing scars. The air was thick with sulfur, and the ground shook almost daily as the planet's deep core shifted restlessly. For most species in the galaxy, such a place was unlivable. No one would dare to step foot on a world where every step could lead to death. But for the Vroth, it was home. They had been born in fire and storm. They had risen in a place where even the smallest creatures had claws strong enough to pierce metal, and where a single mistake meant instant death. The Vroth were giants compared to many species. Their bodies were tall, covered with natural armor-like scales that shone dark red under the sun. Their muscles were thick, their bones dense, and their lungs strong enough to breathe air that would poison others. They had grown to match the cruelty of their world. And in time they had risen above it, learning to build cities that could stand even on volcano ridges, ships that could survive storms in space, and weapons that could crush their enemies with terrifying force. In the galaxy, the Vroth were already famous. They were called the apex by other species, the peak of evolution, the strongest of all warriors. Their armies had fought countless wars, and they had never been truly defeated. Their pride came not only from their strength but also from their survival. The Council, a great alliance of many intelligent species, often looked to the Vroth as the hammer when problems arose. Pirates, raiders, or rebellions feared the day Vroth warbands arrived, but strength often brings arrogance. The Vroth saw themselves as kings among lesser beings. To them, the softer species were weak children, useful for trade, useful for science perhaps, but not their equals. It was in this state of pride that the message came. The Council had detected something strange. Far on the edge of the Orion Arm, a signal pulsed from the void. It was not a known species. It was not a known code. The scientists of the Council debated for weeks, arguing over what it could mean. A new civilization? A lost colony? Or perhaps just static, a mistake of instruments? But the signal repeated, patterned and clear. It was language, though undeciphered. For the Vroth, it was a chance to prove themselves again. When the Council asked who would volunteer for first contact, the answer was immediate. Vroth commanders stepped forward. They wanted to see this new species. They wanted to test them. In their war council, the Vroth leaders spoke. "Another child race," growled Commander Takar, his voice like thunder in the chamber. "Perhaps they have just discovered warp travel. Perhaps they think themselves clever. But they will see what true strength is when we stand before them. They will kneel as all do." Another warrior added. A few Vroth scientists raised calmer points. "Do not underestimate what we do not know," said Elder Veshra, one of the oldest scholars. "Strength is not always in the arm. Sometimes it hides in the mind." These beings sent a message across the stars. That alone deserves respect. But the warriors only laughed. "We are the Vroth," they said proudly. "No one equals us." And so the Vroth prepared a ship. It was a massive vessel, built not for peace but for power. Its hull was layered with armor, its weapons bristling like fangs. The crew chosen were all veterans, warriors who had fought on Deathworlds and crushed rebellions across the stars. To them, this mission was not dangerous, it was sport. As the ship lifted from the black mountains of Korvash, the planet itself seemed to roar in approval. Lightning struck behind the vessel, framing it in fire as it left the atmosphere and jumped into warp space. For days they traveled through the void, the stars stretching into lines of light. In the mess hall, the warriors joked about what they might find. "Perhaps these creatures are soft and tiny," one said, "like the Valen who crumble when touched." "Perhaps they are insects hiding in holes," another replied. "Whatever they are," Takar declared, "they will learn of us, and when they do, they will never forget." The younger warriors cheered at his words. Only Elder Veshra sat silent, her old eyes watching the stars beyond the window. She felt something she had not felt in centuries, curiosity mixed with unease. At last, the ship dropped out of warp. Before them lay a system of yellow light. A sun burned warmly at the center, with several planets circling it. On the third world, green and blue shone brightly. Oceans and continents, life. "Strange," one of the navigators said. "The planet looks calm." Indeed, compared to Korvash, this world looked like paradise. Soft seas, gentle clouds, rich forests, it was almost too peaceful. The Vroth warriors sneered. Such a place could never produce strength, one said. But then their sensors caught the source of the signal. A small ship was moving in orbit around the blue planet. Compared to the Vroth vessel, it was tiny, almost fragile in design. Its hull was thin, its shape simple. No heavy weapons. No armor. The Vroth warriors laughed. Children playing with toys, one declared. They call themselves explorers, another said mockingly. Commander Takar gave the order. Send a message. Let them know the Vroth have arrived. The communication beam shot forward and coded with the Council's universal greeting. For a moment there was silence. Then the strange ship responded. The image that appeared on the Vroth screen silenced the laughter. The beings were small compared to the Vroth, yes. Their skin was soft, without scales. Their eyes were forward-facing. Their hair grew in strange patterns, and their bodies seemed weak. Yet their faces were not fearful. They were calm, curious, confident even. One of them spoke, their words quickly translated by the Vroth's systems. This is Captain Elias Reed of the human vessel Endeavor. We greet you in peace, humans. That was the name they gave themselves. The Vroth crew looked at one another. Their first judgment was clear, fragile, soft, weak. But there was something in their voices, in their steady eyes, that did not fit weakness. Elder Veshra leaned forward, studying the humans on the screen. Do you see it? She whispered. See what? One warrior asked. They do not bow. The others dismissed her words, but Veshra's heart stirred with an old instinct. Something told her this meeting was not like others. These humans might be weak in body, but there was something else hidden beneath their calm stares. The first meeting was short. The humans offered trade, exchange of knowledge, and peaceful cooperation. The Vroth agreed to meet them face-to-face on a neutral station within the system. It was arranged for the next cycle. When the screens went dark, the warriors laughed again, but their laughter was not as strong as before. The humans had not trembled. They had not shown fear. And for the Vroth, that was unusual. As the Vroth ship moved into orbit, the stormy planet of Korvash seemed far away. For the first time in centuries, the apex predators of the galaxy felt something they could not name. It was not respect. Not yet. It was not fear. It was something rarer and far more dangerous to their pride. It was curiosity. And curiosity, once awakened, would change everything. The station chosen for the first meeting was small but safe. It belonged to the Council, floating above a quiet moon on the edge of the human system. It was built for diplomacy, not war. Its halls were bright, its air clean, and its gravity balanced for all kinds of species. The Vroth ship arrived first. It was a dark beast of metal, a vessel that seemed ready to devour anything in its path. When it docked, the whole station shuddered. Council staff bowed quickly and kept their distance. Everyone knew the Vroth reputation. Commander Takar and his warriors stepped out, their heavy steps echoing through the docking bay. Their armor gleamed red, their eyes sharp, their voices low and rumbling as they spoke to one another. To them, this was not a meeting of equals. It was a display of dominance. The humans arrived next. Their ship was smaller, white and silver, almost fragile in design compared to the Vroth juggernaut. When their crew stepped onto the station, the difference was even clearer. They were shorter, lighter, and softer. Their uniforms were clean but simple. Their steps were quick, not heavy. To the Vroth, they looked like children walking into a den of predators. Yet, something was strange. They did not bow. They did not lower their eyes. Captain Elias Reed stepped forward, his hand raised in the council gesture of greeting. His voice was calm. "We are honored to meet the Vroth," he said. "We hope this is the first step to friendship." The words were polite, but his tone was steady. Not trembling. Not fearful, the Vroth noticed. Takar stepped forward, towering over the human captain. His shadow covered him. "You are small," Takar said simply. "Fragile. This world you live on is soft. How do you expect to survive in the galaxy?" Captain Reed looked up, meeting the Predator's eyes without flinching. "We survive because we work together," he said. "Our world taught us to adapt. We may not be as strong as you, Commander, but strength is not only in the body," the words were bold. The Vroth warriors growled softly, but Elder Veshra raised a clawed hand. "Let us not dismiss words so quickly," she said. "Talk is easy. Proof is harder. Perhaps these humans should show us their strength." The suggestion caught interest. The station had training grounds for demonstrations, often used for council species to understand one another. The humans agreed without hesitation. The first test was simple, a strength trial. The Vroth brought forward one of their warriors, a giant named Korvac. He lifted a weight so heavy that most species could not even budge it. His arms bulged, his scales gleamed with sweat, and he slammed the weight down with a roar. The ground shook. The humans could not hope to match that. Their bodies were too small. Instead, they brought a machine. 2 humans worked quickly, adjusting straps, pulleys, and gears. Then, using teamwork, they lifted the same weight with the help of their device. They could not match the raw power of Korvac, but they showed something different. Creativity. The Vroth muttered among themselves. Some scoffed. They need tools to do what we do with our arms, one said. But Elder Veshra's eyes narrowed. Tools are the extension of the mind, she whispered. Do not laugh too quickly. The second test was agility. The Vroth warrior ran through the course, smashing barriers aside, leaping with raw power and finishing in thunderous time. The humans entered next. They did not smash. They weaved, ducked, and climbed. They used balance, timing, and cooperation. Their time was slower in raw numbers, but they finished without injury, without wasted energy. The third test was strategy, a combat simulation, using harmless stun weapons and artificial terrain. Here the Vroth expected easy victory. Takar himself led his warband. They charged forward, crushing obstacles, overwhelming everything in their path. Their roar shook the chamber, but the humans did not meet them head-on. They scattered into the terrain, laying small traps, using cover, and coordinating with simple hand signals. The Vroth grew frustrated as alarms rang. Hidden humans striking from shadows, retreating, then striking again. The match ended with both sides standing, but the judges declared the humans had held their ground far longer than expected. Against sheer strength, they had balanced the field with wit. Takar was not pleased. You run, you hide. That is not battle, he growled. Captain Reed answered calmly. We fight to win, not to boast. In real war, survival is victory. The Vroth warriors bristled at his words. To them, honor meant direct combat, strength against strength. Yet there was a weight in the humans' answer they could not ignore. After the trials, both groups gathered in the hall. The atmosphere was heavy. The Vroth were unsettled. They had expected weaklings who would bow. Instead, they found small creatures who fought with minds sharper than blades. Elder Veshra studied them most of all. She spoke softly to Takar. Do you see? They are not strong as we are, yet they do not break. They adapt. They endure. That is a kind of strength we do not possess. Takar grunted, unwilling to admit it. But in his heart, a seed of doubt had been planted. Later, when the humans returned to their ship, some Vroth warriors gathered in private. They are weak, one insisted. Soft bodies, fragile bones. We could crush them with our claws. But why did they not fear us? Another asked. Every other species trembles when we enter the room. These humans did not. They used tricks, nothing more. Or perhaps, Elder Veshra interrupted, their trick is that they see the galaxy differently. They survive not by being the strongest alone, but by being clever, by working together, by refusing to surrender. That, my warriors, is dangerous. The room fell silent. Meanwhile, on their ship, the humans also spoke. Commander Reed addressed his crew. The Vroth are powerful, beyond anything we have faced, but they are not invincible. They believe strength is only in muscle. That is their weakness. His officers nodded. They had seen the Vroth pride, their reliance on brute force. Humans, by contrast, had always survived by bending when needed, then striking when the time was right. As both sides left the station, the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. The Vroth, the strongest Deathworld species, had met humanity. They had expected to laugh. Instead, they walked away uneasy. The humans had not won, but neither had they lost. And for the Vroth, that was the first time in memory that a weak species had stood tall before them. It was a beginning neither side would ever forget. The galaxy was rarely quiet for long. Even in times of peace, danger always waited on the edges. Beyond the safe zones of the Council, raiders, smugglers, and pirates hunted like wolves. Some were desperate, some cruel, and some clever enough to strike where even the strongest did not expect. It was near a black hole that trouble began. The Council had built an outpost there, a research station that studied the strange pull of gravity and the secrets of collapsed stars. It was an important place filled with scientists and guarded only lightly. Few thought anyone would dare attack so close to such danger, But pirates did not fear as others did. One dark cycle, their ships came in from the void. They were fast, sharp, and ruthless. They swarmed the station like insects, firing blasts into its shields, sending alarms echoing through every hall. The scientists cried out for help, sending desperate signals to the council. The Vroth were the first to answer. Commander Takar's warship dropped out of warp, its massive shadow blocking the light of distant stars. He did not wait. He gave the order to attack. "Crush them," he growled. "Show them what it means to fight the Vroth." The Vroth vessel roared forward, weapons blazing. Its cannons tore through the first wave of pirate ships, scattering them like dust. The warriors inside roared with pride, sure of victory. But the pirates were not foolish. They darted around the warship, striking from angles the heavy Vroth vessel could not turn too quickly enough. They unleashed clouds of false signals, jamming sensors, blinding the mighty hunters. For every pirate ship that was destroyed, 2 more slipped past to attack the station directly. Inside, the scientists panicked as the walls shook. Emergency lights flashed red. Supplies burst from storage, scattering through the halls. The station's defenders tried to fight, but they were few. Takar cursed as he saw the pirates' tactics. "They run like cowards," he shouted. "They do not stand and face us." The Vroth pushed harder, but brute force could not stop enemies who refused to meet them head-on. Every time they destroyed one ship, more circled behind. The black hole's gravity made the battlefield dangerous. Too close, and even the strongest vessel could be pulled in. The Vroth had power, but not precision, and for the first time in centuries, the apex species felt the edge of failure. It was then that another ship arrived, small, fragile-looking, human. The Endeavor dropped out of warp at the edge of the chaos. Captain Elias Reed saw the situation at once. The pirates were clever, using the black hole as cover, darting where the heavy Vroth ship could not follow. The station was failing. Time was short. His crew looked to him. They were afraid but ready. Reed stood tall. "We cannot match their strength, so we will use their own danger against them. Prepare a slingshot maneuver." The crew stared for a moment. The slingshot maneuver was madness, using the gravity of the black hole itself to swing their fragile ship around at incredible speed. One mistake and they would be swallowed forever. But Reed's voice was calm. "We don't have time for safe. Trust me." And they did. The Endeavor turned sharply, engines burning as it dove closer to the black hole than any sane pilot would dare. Alarms screamed as the gravity pulled at the hull, the ship groaning under the strain. Crew members clung to their stations, sweat dripping, hearts pounding. The Vroth saw them and roared with disbelief. "They are mad," shouted one warrior. "They will be destroyed." Elder Veshra, watching the small human ship dance with death, felt her chest tighten. "Or perhaps," she whispered, "they will do what we cannot." The Endeavor curved around the black hole, its speed rising beyond what seemed possible. Then, with perfect timing, the humans released a storm of drones and decoys. The gravity flung them outward like stones from a sling, hurling into the pirate fleet with deadly force. Ships shattered, shields collapsed, and chaos spread through the enemy ranks. Before the pirates could recover, the Endeavor turned its momentum into an attack run, striking at the heart of the swarm. Their weapons were smaller but precise. Each shot found a weak point, each move calculated. The pirates panicked. They tried to flee, but the black hole was not merciful. Some turned too late, pulled into its endless dark. Others ran straight into the fire of the Vroth, who now found their targets exposed and helpless. Within minutes, the battle was over. The pirates were destroyed. The station was saved. The humans had done the impossible. Silence filled the Vroth warship. Commander Takar stood at the front, his fists clenched. His pride burned hot, but even he could not deny what he had seen. They had thrown their full strength at the pirates and failed. The humans had risked everything and won. He looked at Elder Veshra. Her old eyes glowed with something like triumph. "Do you see now?" she said softly. "Strength alone is not enough. There is power in the mind and courage in risking what others would not." Takar growled, but he could not answer. On the Endeavor, Captain Reed gave the order to slow down, pulling away from the black hole's grip. His crew cheered, their relief loud and bright. They had survived. They had saved lives, but Reed did not smile. He looked at the Vroth vessel on the screen, knowing what this moment meant. For the first time, They had shown these giants that humans were not weaklings to be dismissed. When the two crews met again on the station, the atmosphere was different. The Vroth did not laugh this time. They did not boast. They watched the humans with new eyes. Captain Reed spoke simply. "We do not seek to replace you. We do not seek to rule, but do not mistake our size for weakness. Humanity will stand no matter the danger." The words echoed in the hall, and for the first time in memory, the strongest Deathworld species felt something they had never felt toward another race: respect. The galaxy would not be the same. The battle near the black hole became a story whispered across the stars within days. The pirates had been defeated, the council outpost saved, and all because of a daring maneuver that should have been impossible. Everywhere the tale spread. Humans had flown where no one else dared, and they had returned alive. For the Vroth, this was not just news, it was a wound to their pride. Commander Takar stood in silence inside his warship's command hall. Around him, warriors murmured, still uneasy. Their muscles were as strong as ever, their weapons sharp, but their hearts carried a weight they had never felt. They had fought with all their might and failed to stop the pirates. The humans had succeeded. Small, fragile humans who should have broken under the pressure had risked everything and turned the tide. Elder Veshra spoke quietly to Takar. "We have always called ourselves the strongest, but today we saw another kind of strength. We cannot ignore it." Takar's jaw tightened. His pride resisted. The Vroth had built their entire history on the belief that they were unmatched. To admit otherwise felt like tearing down their own honor, and yet the truth burned too bright to deny. The council soon called for a gathering. Leaders of many species assembled on a great station near the galactic core. It was a place of shining towers, open halls, and banners from every world. Here decisions that shaped the galaxy were made. The Vroth arrived with heavy steps, their presence as fierce as always. The humans arrived more quietly, walking side by side, their faces calm. Whispers spread through the chamber as the two species entered. Everyone had heard the stories. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. When the meeting began, the council leader, a tall and graceful being from the Serenari species, raised her voice. "The outpost has been saved. Lives were spared. We honor those who fought against the pirates." She turned her gaze toward the Vroth. "Your warriors fought with bravery." Then her eyes shifted to the humans. "And your people showed courage beyond measure." Murmurs echoed. Some species clapped their hands or raised their voices in agreement, but the room grew truly silent when Commander Takar stood. His voice was deep, carrying across the chamber. "For centuries, the Vroth have claimed the title of strongest. We believed no other could stand beside us, but we saw with our own eyes that these humans, though soft, though fragile, did what we could not. They risked more than life itself. They bent the laws of the stars to strike their enemies. They did not kneel. They did not break. And in doing so, they proved something to us." The chamber held its breath. Many had never heard of Vroth speak in such a way. Takar's words were heavy but clear. "Strength is not only in the body. It is in the will. It is in the mind. It is in the choice to act when fear would stop others. By this truth we declare, the humans are not weaklings. They are our equals." Shock rippled through the assembly. Some gasped. Some cheered. Others sat in stunned silence. Captain Elias Reed rose slowly from his place among the humans. He met Takar's fierce eyes and nodded once. "We did not come to challenge you. We came to learn, to share, and to survive together. But know this, humanity will never bow. We will always stand, even when the odds are impossible. That is our promise." The two leaders stood facing each other. For a long moment, the galaxy seemed to pause. Then, in a gesture none expected, Commander Takar placed his fist across his chest, the Vroth sign of respect. The hall erupted with voices. Some shouted in joy, some in disbelief. But one thing was certain. History had changed. In the weeks that followed, stories spread even faster. On Vroth worlds, young warriors whispered about the humans who had flown near a black hole and returned. Some admired them, some mocked them, but all respected the daring. Songs were written comparing human courage to fire that burned in the dark. On Earth, the story reached every city. For centuries, humanity had wondered how they would be seen by others in the galaxy. Weak, insignificant, or worse, prey? Now they knew. They were not rulers, not conquerors, but something different. Survivors who turned weakness into strength. The council began new programs. Humans were invited to join defense coalitions to share their ideas, their machines, their daring tactics. The Vroth, once too proud to learn from anyone, began sending warriors to train alongside human soldiers. It was not always easy, their cultures clashed, their tempers flared, but slowly something new was born. Respect. One cycle, Elder Veshra visited the human vessel Endeavor. She moved through its narrow halls, watching the crew at work. They laughed, argued, and planned together, never afraid to question their captain, never afraid to offer ideas. "This is your strength," she told Captain Reed as they stood near the observation window. Stars glittered outside, endless and cold. "You are not the strongest, not the fastest, not the hardest. But you think, you create, you adapt, you risk. That is why you survived against us. That is why you will shape the future." Reed looked at her with quiet eyes. "And you, Elder, taught us something too. Strength without wisdom breaks. Pride without respect blinds. If the Vroth and humanity can walk together, perhaps the galaxy itself can be better." The old warrior nodded. In her heart she felt something she had not felt in many lifetimes. Hope. Years later, when historians wrote of that time, they did not call it the rise of humanity, nor the fall of the Vroth. They called it the meeting of strengths, for it was not one species ruling over another, but two understanding that true power came not from muscle alone, nor from cleverness alone, but from the joining of both. The galaxy, once divided between predators and prey, now saw a new path, a path where even the weakest looking could stand tall if their will was unbroken. And it all began the day the strongest Deathworld species met humanity. And nothing was ever the same again.